but if you came from North Carolina, it doesn't seem that long. And especially if we stopped at Mars, which of course is not only a great ice cream bar, we all have sticky fingers now, but a place where you get a cell phone, and it's an Elvis shrine. So, which on the 30th anniversary of his death, right? Is it 30th? Is that what it is now? But it was a fitting place to stop. What Dan was saying is exactly right, that John has both the policies and the character to win in places that we're going to need to win. You hear all the time Democrats say, we're going to win in these states, but there's some states we can't win in. We hear it all the time. Can't win in Louisiana, can't win in Oklahoma, can't win in Kansas, can't win in North Carolina, can't win in Tennessee, yet every one of those states has a Democratic governor. So Democrats can win there. It just has to be the right kind of Democrats with the right kind of values and the right kind of solutions for the problems we face. It's easy for me to go around campaigning for this man because he gives me plenty of material. He gives me those right ideas to talk about. I ask you, after he spoke, and I know he's going to give you all a chance to ask questions, and I ask you to grill him and every other candidate hard on exactly where they stand and exactly what they'll do. I ask you to do that because I know how he'll hold up in contrast to other candidates because he's got those ideas and he had them from the very beginning of this campaign. Y'all have been hearing about him, I know, for months now. You may not have any questions left, but I hope you do, and I hope you grow. My husband of 30 years, John.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Dan, very much. And thank all of you for coming. Let me begin by saying what I think is at stake and what I think is important in this campaign and in this next election. I actually believe that we need very serious change in America. Not little change, big change. And we do need to replace this Republican administration with a Democratic administration. But we need more than that. America has got to change in fundamental ways. And Washington has to change in fundamental ways. Because the one thing that I know for certain, and I'd be willing to bet almost every one of you know, is there are huge, entrenched obstacles to change. You want to know why we don't have universal health care? Big insurance companies and big drug companies. That's why we don't have universal health care. You want to know why America hasn't led to address the crisis of global warming? Because of oil companies, gas companies, big power companies. They have stood between us and what we so desperately need. And it's not just them. It's the lobbyists that represent them in Washington, D.C. These big corporate lobbyists, they have rigged this system against you. They have rigged this government and this democracy against you. It's that simple. And I have seen it up close, I'm afraid. When we passed, I'll give you one example. When we passed the Medicare prescription drug bill, which I was against, but when it passed, I know who wrote it. Drug company lobbyists wrote it. That's who wrote it. And all through the whole debate process, when we tried to change it, they were there every minute working against any kind of change. This is what these people have billions of dollars invested in making sure this system continues exactly the way it is today. They do not want to see it change. And I will tell you, there are differences, big differences between us, the Democrats, and our presidential candidates, and we have very good candidates, and the Republicans. Huge differences. The best I can tell, those guys are all George Bush on steroids. But there are also some differences between the Democratic candidates. And here's what I believe. I just want to speak for myself. What I believe is, if we want to see serious change, that we can't do it by compromising with these entrenched interests, that we can't sit at a table and negotiate with them. They've been there for years and years and years. They have billions of dollars invested in making sure nothing changes. We're going to have to actually take them on head on and bring about this change. And one of the most crucial ways for us to do that is we ought to send a statement right now that starting today, the Democratic Party, the party of the people, not the party of Washington insiders, the party of the people, starting today, we will never take another dime from a Washington lobbyist. Period. A clear, unmistakable statement. I'm proud of the fact that for almost 10 years now, I've never taken any money from a Washington lobbyist, but this is not enough. We need to do it. And ultimately, the answer is we need to publicly finance our campaigns in this country. That's the way to actually take the power away from these people. But what is the change that we need? I'm only going to talk about one today, and then I'm going to open the floor and talk about all the things that you want to talk about. You know, I watch what's happening with this mess of a war in Iraq. Dan talked about it just a minute ago. And the men and women who have served this country courageously in Iraq, and some who've lost their lives. I understand we had a soldier from Fort Dodge who lost his life, and I think that's why the flag is at half-mast, because Governor Culver ordered it to be at half-mast. But we look at those who've lost their lives, we look at those who have served and are coming back from Iraq, and then I listen to Bush and the Bush administration suggest that maybe what we need is to reinstitute the draft. I am completely opposed to that. I think it's a mistake. I think instead of reinstituting the draft, what if we actually bring our troops home from Iraq? That's the way we need to work on our military. Because we know Bush and this administration have completely worn out the men and women who serve in the military and the equipment in the military, period. There's a reason they're worn down. Because they've been deployed and redeployed, redeployed. The reserve and the guard have been asked to do things they were never intended to do. It's just that simple. So we need to stand for those people who have put their lives on the line for us. Here's what I think. I think every single man and woman who comes back from Iraq or Afghanistan deserves to be individually evaluated to see what their needs are. And we need to focus as a nation on the medical problems that are directly Iraq specific. And those things are pretty clear. They're post-traumatic stress disorder and brain injury. Those have been the two biggest and most serious medical conditions that we've seen from soldiers who are serving in Iraq. We need to take care of both the mental health needs and the physical health needs of those who are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. We need to not only take care of their health care needs, we need to help them get a job. If they're looking for a job, they want to go back to civilian life. America should be there helping them get a job. We need to give them the education and the job training that they need. And by the way, we also need to be supporting their families while they're serving in Iraq. If they have children, we need to help those families with child care. We know that there's a huge gap between civilian pay and military pay, and particularly if you're in the reserve or the guard. We got men and women who are leaving here, leaving Iowa, going to put their lives on the line in Iraq, and they have to take a huge cut in pay. That seems to me to be the last thing they need, on top of all the other burdens that they're carrying. And then finally, we need to have a guaranteed stream of income for the Veterans Administration. So we don't see this up and down, and we don't see veterans having to wait, 6 months to a year to get the health care that they're entitled to. Those are the things that America needs to do to meet its sacred responsibility to those who wore the uniform of the United States of America, including those who are serving in Iraq and Afghanistan now. So that's where I think we are. I want to say one last thing. I'm going to open the floor. I hope you'll ask me about health care, about energy, and poverty, taxes, all the things, Iraq, all the things that you're interested in. But before I do that, I want to say one last thing to you. The change that I'm talking about, the President of the United States cannot bring about this change alone. It will not happen. We need you. We need you involved. Now, obviously, you play a huge role because you're here in the state of Iowa, the first in the nation caucuses. So you're going to play a huge role deciding who the presidential candidate is. But I'm talking about something beyond that. I really believe it is time for the president to ask Americans to sacrifice, to be willing to be patriotic about something other than war. I listened to Bush and Cheney as little as possible, but when I do listen to them, what I hear is, stay home. Dick Cheney and I, we'll take care of you. I don't want this crowd taking care of me. I don't know about you. I don't want to, we're not cowering in the corner. That's not who we are. That's not America. And we're at our best when we're out there leading and strong. That's what the world needs from us. And that's what your country needs from you. We need to hear your voice in the caucuses, but we need to hear it after the caucus. We need you involved and engaged, willing to sacrifice, willing to conserve the things that will make America what it's capable of being. Famous John Kennedy inauguration speech, ask not what your country can do for you, but we're at that place again, and your country needs you. And if we want to make America what it's capable of being, we need every single one of you to help.